Up, we are streaming What Remains of Edith Finch, which is a game that came out last year. It is a very narrative-heavy game. There's some quite inventive ways of conveying its narrative. Content warning for death, lots of death, child death, people dying, emotional stuff. Let's say we just change the settings. Graphics, full screen, windowed. It shouldn't say I was playing Dishonored because I did change it when I started the new stream. Anyway, let me This is essentially a walking simulator, but it's got some nice little gameplay segments which have interesting aspects to it. We are, well, we'll find out.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house. I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Not really, there's not a lot of lesbians in here, I'm afraid.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Yeah, it's getting the way you interact with stuff in this game is really quite clever, and it's neat.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know, or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
I mean, I'm sure you can be have lesbian feels, but I don't think there's any sort of explicit lesbian content the way there is in a game like oh crap, Gone Home. Yeah, you can take two routes here. I think you get an achievement if you walk back and take the other one after you've taken one.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
I'm going to feel sad because I wish my voice sounded more like
the woods around the house have always
protagonist.
been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something, but never do.
Sweet. To be honest, I wish my voice sounded like Porpentine's voice. But, I've already got the achievement for walking both paths, so I'm just going to carry on here.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it. As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
But we are embodied.
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house.
I pressed the lean button like in Dishonored. Oh my god. It's not that sort of game.
I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
So you may not be able to tell on the stream, but using all these interactions, you don't just click the interact button. You actually have to click and move your mouse in a particular way to make the game do what you're trying to make it do. It's quite neat, I think.
The house felt like it had always been here. Even the swing set was older than my mother.
You can also look through holes a lot of the time. Sure.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
Maybe I can't actually. Very nicely, I don't think I can. Oh no, wait, that's a brightness slider. Put up a couple of notches. It's a bit too bright now, but let me know if that's more comfortable for you.
The power had been turned off the night we left.
How's that?
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one.
I've never played Fortnite. I'm not even sure if it's a free-to-play game or what.
Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
I feel like Fortnite might be a bit much of a change of pace from heavy narrative games like this.
Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house. So we had Chinese a lot.
So I'm not going to play Fortnite
The
tonight.
table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
I'm not saying too much about it because a lot is revealed over there.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Fortnite's a free-to-play
Nothing in the house
FPS.
looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth.
I'm sure you love it, but let's please stop talking about Fortnite and focus on the game at hand.
Great Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Alright, you're getting banned. Yeah, I probably should have been a bit quicker to ban, like they were clearly just here to disrupt.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
So, what this game is, to briefly summarize, we've returned to this house, as you've heard.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
And it's the house of the Finch family. And we're going to basically be poking through the house and getting various stories about how the various members of the Finch family died. So it's going to be a game with a lot of death, but not so much a game about killing. My mum's just saying, let me say hi to her. Hey, Mum. Thanks very much, Mum. Very similar to Gone Home. The main difference from Gone Home is that it has like these kind of imaginary gameplay segments. I'll see you
Mom
soon.
sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
And the family is considerably more fucked up and less ordinary than the one in Gone Home.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
I mean, true, but this family is just weird. Like Gone Home's like a plausible fucked up family. This game is about like a weird fantasy family that does all sorts of bizarre shit.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Don't worry about remembering all these. They'll get filled. The family tree will get filled in later. Let's just give you a taste.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin. As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Not quite that level. Not fantasy as in sort of fantasy novel fantasy. Fantasy as in like they just do a bunch of weird unlikely things that kind of splitting a room in two to make the
Mom
kid share it with his dead brother.
On the night we left. Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
You don't learn a lot about Great Uncle Walter.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him. Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Every family has a secret tunnel hidden by a book.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Yes.
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
My Halloween candy was all gone. I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back. I kept eating and eating. I ate a lot of things that night.
Seems reasonable.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit.
So basically, animal science fiction at this
Flew
point,
off to
isn't it?
find something bigger. A mama rabbit.
Oh, we've actually done one recently, but I need to finish
I
editing
started
it.
choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
You click the mouse to twitch.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seals.
I'm confused about the controls. Right, there we go. So you use WSD to aim.
I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good. Grabbed on tight. When I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed. Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet.
So I guess there is a bit of murder in this game after all. Of course, they're even singing the same songs.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have. So I swam.
Did I miss a human? My bad.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Yeah, there's an achievement for that as well. Whoops. Or maybe the achievement's for listening to all the rest of the song before you eat them. Anyway, I don't know.
I got closer and closer.
There we are.
All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
Yeah, I have.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
I feel
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here.
Remember.
I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here before my mom sealed the doors.
I mean, we've got like these whole sort of Selkie thing and everything, haven't we? Anyway, I think that's. I seem to be able to open that door in the present, so let's get on. Unfortunately, we do not turn into a cat.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't.
They have like the same handful of books in every single room. Like they had like this one book texture. For some reason, it's a book texture that includes a bunch of titles. So feel free to comment on their literary taste.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Her room was like a museum.
There on the other side of one of those doors we peeked through. Norwegian folktales.
Even in her 90s. Sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother. The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
A couple of things.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
So yeah, we have opened up.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
We have a segment we missed, so we go back. I like that that's still better poetry than that one in Dishonored.
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune. And misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Oops. Alright, just
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
There's one in here, or maybe it's not in here, maybe we come to it later. Let's come to it later. Hop. If you know if there is a mythological basis to this rock sea, feel free to fill us in on the details. Yeah, this room is very split.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin, and that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again.
Guess how this one's gonna end.
I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
I can't believe they left the swing up. That's incredible.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
So this gives us our way back into the centre of the house. Yeah, there's lots of lovely little details in this game with the animations and everything. Clearly a game that's had an awful lot of attention put on to like every moment of it.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star. I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up, a has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging
This is
residents
the Finch house, not the con. She didn't go to the
From the
con.
basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
I have no idea how the comic authors
I'll be
would have
back
figured
in a
that out.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him. right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
So, yeah. I have control here.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
True. Oh hey, we can knock these cans over.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
There's the table saw.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
I don't have as many physics objects here.
Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And his was he couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
Ooh, who saw that coming?
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... Someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Man hand, door hand, hookah door, however it goes.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard. But that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Wow, no more jokes. I'm impressed.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Fair enough. So here's the family tree. I think it's only including actual direct descendants and not marriages. Or I think these little leaves represent marriages. So I think Sven and Edie children include Sam, Calvin, Barbara, Molly, and Gus, I guess, is the only one who survived long enough to have kids. Like Gus married Dawn. Oh, Gus and Gregory. Oh, maybe there's someone. Oh no, maybe sorry. Okay, so let's have a look. So Sam died in 1983. Sorry, Sam's the only one who survived, and then Sam and Kay had Gus, Gregory, and Dawn. Correction. Okay, so Sam died in 1983. Calvin died in 1961. Barbara died in 1960. Molly died in, so I think that's 1947. Edie died in 2010. Odin died in 1937. Oh no, I think maybe Molly died in 1997. No, I had to read, sorry. Anyway, so we haven't seen Sam or Walter yet. Right. Oh, there's a clearer version here. Yeah, 47. Oops. I keep pretty escape to leave the book, but then of course the book is the menu book and the in-game book are different, and you have to hold the S button to go after the in-game book. Anyway, right, so that's Barbara. Anyway, I think we've got our clue for what the next thing to do is, right? Thanks to that.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
And then remind you just in case you didn't pick that up. I don't know if you can actually open the music box before you read that. You can turn it, but then you can keep turning. I think it stopped me from turning it further. It's interesting the movement is sort of very restricted, like compared to an FPS style control like Dishonored. I was actually slower when walking down the stairs, and I think if I look down at my feet, I don't know, maybe they don't have a specific animation for walking up and down the stairs, but still. Well, that one music box had a key in it, which the comic told us about. Here's a table saw. Cleaned up the blood.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
I love the fact that people try to speedrun What Remains of Edith Finch.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Oh, you can open this already. Thought you needed to read the thing first. There's a radio here.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive the week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything. Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal.
I'm moving my mouse in circles here.
Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave while I still can. I know it's out there somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me.
I love how they animate the text in this game.
Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
That light doesn't cast a shadow on that post. This might cast a shadow. That's interesting. I guess they've got like a shadow map budget that they sort of didn't want to waste on that one light.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
A really good job of making the controls intuitive, like when you come to unlatch something or push something open and everything. I keep pressing shift to try and go faster, and of course I can't because shift is zoom.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
No. Not when you're not a cat, anyway.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery may be more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Don't think there's any other comments on these.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Ollie, Calvin, Sven, Edie, Walter, Barbara.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Not yet. I don't think. Let me just check the book. No, nope, Sven is not on the list that we've seen. We might not find out about Sven because he's about his family. But we might.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
No, this is just like, like graves markers.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us. We never found Milton's body, so my mom insisted we were putting up a monument, not a tombstone. There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
There was a really neat little bit of level design back there where you you walk out up to the telescope, you see the telescope, you walk towards it, and then when you turn around from the telescope you notice there's another path that you walk past because it's like right behind you, right parallel to your path you arrived on. And a good job of like leading the eye and stuff.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing,
I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
Just a second. Right there.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Smile, Dawn. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are. Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
If you take the wrong picture, the game's like, nah. Even if you think it's quite
Last
nice.
time I was
picture.
with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. Dawn, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Now keep yourself squared up. Elbow. Great shot, Dawn!
The analogy of a camera and a gun. It's really interesting. There's no choice but to shoot the deer, I'm afraid.
I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay?
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Dawn, just gotta reset the timer.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I kept getting confused about the sequence.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so-
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about
Dad!
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Just look around that room.
Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Here's Kay. Kay was who you married. Hello? I'm streaming, I'll be down soon though. Okay.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Right. I think that's all the things in that room. It's hard to tell whether you've seen all the interactables.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Oops. This is Gus Gregory and Dawn, the kids of Sam and Kay.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
This bit's quite interesting.
I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
It's really cool you can play some music.
Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I think this this postdates the List of Frogs by the Catamites, but
What his world was like.
Double Frog. 360 no-scope Double Frog.
He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw, it sure made him happy. I know how silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
she could have told us about the world we saw. There's so much I don't understand about Gregory, about everything. But I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Gregory died in 1977. And that appears to also be when they got divorced.
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry.
Yeah, but most of your friends aren't musicians, Natalie.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her. We don't need a stepmom, were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Let's do a text. It's a magic kite, just go with it, I think. Like, they've got to make it controllable by the player, so they have to make it like the scene doesn't just immediately end as soon as you screw it. Oh, here we go. Here's
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. But all my father said to this was, "Make the music louder." I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
And Dawn is the only one who survived long enough to have her bed moved out of here and not get memorialized by Edie. Dawn, sweep, trash. Gus, mop, mow yard. Greg, yeah, baby. God, the whole American flag thing is really freaks me out. Right. There's a climbing wall.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get. She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay. Religion was another thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died. My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Lewis was born a year later.
Plus, the mum is the one who moved out, so she doesn't have a shrine built by Edie.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
There's me.
And to see kids in the house again. The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last.
Yep. Did you lose... did you lose connection? I didn't realise, sorry. So I'll just briefly summarise. We have encountered the stories of Edie and Sven's kids, Molly, Barbara, Calvin, Sam and Walter. And Sam and Kay had kids, Dawn, Gus and Gregory. We haven't seen Dawn's story yet. But we have seen, so Edith is the player character. Edith Jr. that is, not to be confused with Edie. So we've seen Gus and Gregory, who both died as kids. Gregory died in the bath, Gus died flying a kite. And now we've climbed up onto the roof of the house where there's this rather post hoc, rather rough construction. That people are married into
Milton's
the
10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
No, one of them died in the bath, the other one flew a kite and then died from a storm.
After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Remember, Milton has a grave marker, but it's not known whether or not he lived or died. We clicked on the Bible, and she talked about religion, but we didn't get to read it. There's a speech bubble marker rather than a book marker. We'll find out about Dawn later.
I think Edie was happy to finally have another painter in the family.
Yeah, this family is kind of well off, I think.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush. was 4 when Milton disappeared.
That's all we get about how Milton disappeared.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Once again, we double back and see there's a route next to the one we passed, where we entered from.
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room, until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room, except Louis.
Yeah, this is the famous one that got, I think there's a YouTube video about how good it is and stuff.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
No, it's just a boat mounted on top of the house.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
I wonder if that's a real console, the Wonderland. I think it's just like a Dreamcast XP or something. God, look at me using the word XP like this fucking TV tropes in 2002. Was there even TV tropes in 2002?
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery.
Yeah.
But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander. I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on.
As long as it's useful to capital, right?
I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick.
So I'm controlling Lewis with the WSD keys and the mouse
Then he
to
made
use to do the
musicians.
fish. If you're wondering.
And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality.
His imagination doesn't really extend to names.
Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Lewisburg, he heard rumors of a...
So this is where you get to decide whether Lewis is straight or gay.
Beautiful prince.
Obviously, I decide I like making... Obviously, I try and make everything as gay as possible.
The prince was on his own quest for...
So, do we want to be after rainbows or serpents? I think I went with rainbows last time, so I'm going to go with serpents this time.
Sinister serpents.
You can't go against it so too much.
He followed the sound of his...
You went an electric sitar or a silver harp? To be honest. Let's go with the sitar because electric sitar is pretty unique.
His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination, But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Louis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Louis, the cannery worker.
Oh
He
yeah,
began to
warning for
despise the man with
suicide
a
coming
royal
up.
contempt.
A few years ago. Suicide prediction coming up. A bit warning.
I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on advising him. His prince waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Yeah.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Everyone alright?
He was so proud of being Indian. I think for him, it was a way to be something other than just a Finch.
Shit. Doing all that time.
On the way back from Louis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
Yep.
But I understand why we left.
Why,
My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
A literal Finch.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night. That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning.
Chopsticks
but
probably.
Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
The thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years.
No, I think we're only too deep.
God, it smelled awful.
Actually, no, I think you're right.
I've seen that house every day of my life. But
Mind
I never
you,
thought I'd go back to it.
the book Edith's writing, I'm pretty sure, is the first book, the book that is being read by the character in the very opening scene. So, and yeah,
When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
that is definitely the sign of a tsunami, isn't it?
I got turned around.
It's true.
For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Yeah, interesting that.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone.
This bit with lesbians, to be honest.
After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is.
Now we get to simulate being born.
This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I'm slightly worried we might have missed something. Like, did we find out what happened to Edie? No, whatever. That's the story. I'll let the credits play and then we'll wrap something up. I don't have that, I'm afraid. Don't have that either. Might be a bit long for also something lighter. We Know the Devil. Come on. Cat game. What cat game? Yeah, but we have to do the other 3 endings to get it, and it would be a lot of reading out to do. Hustle Cat, oh right. Hustle Cat would also be a bit long to get through in one night. Ikaruga. What's that? Isn't that like some really difficult shmup? I think the thing is any VN would be a bit long. I know. Yeah, I would be so bad. Yeah. Okay, I guess we did get Edie's story, but it obviously got cut off midway through. Anyway, there we go. That's what remains of Edith Finch. Thing is, I don't